Hello, so let me start. So, should I start?
Yes, Mohammed.
Okay. Okay. So, good morning, everyone. Hope you all are doing well and are safe in the pandemic. On behalf of ITSA, I welcome you all on today's webinar by Mrs. Reena Atalle on soft skills, sponsored by Innovative Mind India. But before that, I have a question for you all. Why do we need to know soft skills? Any guesses? Okay, let it be. I would say. So you may be the person who has gained expertise in your field. You may be a great programmer, but still you may have gained all the knowledge that are present in your subject. But still there are areas that have immense significance but little known, such as what to and how to mention in resume, skills that play an important role during your interview, such as the way you speak, the way you present yourself to the board. And learning these is as important as your subjects. And rightly, we have the expert here with us for this. So let me introduce you to Mrs. Reena Atalle, the speaker at today's webinar. She has done her bachelor's and master's from the Savitribai Phule University. She has experience of 18 years in the IT field as a project and delivery management consultant, working across varied size, geographically diverse, multinational projects in diverse domains. And also, she has training expertise in business communication, customer excellence, interpersonal skills, time management, stress management, and also to say the list is still going on. So I would like to ask Mrs. Reena, ma'am, to begin the webinar and impart our participants with knowledge on soft skills regarding the areas of resume building, interview skills, and group discussion.
Hey, thank you, Mohammed. Thank you so much. So it sounded very nice when I heard it from someone else.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, great. So good morning all and welcome to the webinar. I think this topic is of everybody's interest and that's the reason why we see 72 and more participants in this webinar and I'm really thrilled. So I don't want to talk much about myself. Mohammed has already introduced me. What I would like to start with is basically I would like to start. So you are all Generation Z guys and girls, right? So I would like to know, any one of you can say that what are the top 5 characteristics that the Generation Z has? Anything that comes to your mind. It's all about you. You can just unmute and speak.
They need everything to be quick. They need everything to be fast.
What else? Communication. So when you say Prajakta, when you say communication, what is that? And Prajakta, you can just unmute and speak. So let's have this. Let's not have this like a classroom session where I'm the teacher and you are supposed to just listen. It will be more of an interaction because we are talking about soft skills. So soft skills can't be actually used or shown or learned if you are on mute.
Right. So, ma'am, I'm Prajakta, and I guess communication is a skill which this generation possesses because we tend to communicate with each other for our needs or whatever we need. We tend to communicate with each other. Hence, I said communication.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Anyone else? So we said top 5. So we have just 2 right now. What more?
It also
we see for shortcuts.
Yeah, Achal.
We see for shortcuts. We need everything like in an easy way. We don't want much work to be done.
Right, and that actually makes sense, right? Why to waste time on something which is available and can be done in shorter time? Absolutely. What else? Yeah, there was someone else also speaking when Achal started to talk, right?
Yeah, ma'am, I was telling it's not just about verbal communication, also includes your postures when you meet someone.
Right. Right, yeah. What else? So we have a lot of people from IT And right now what we are using is a lot of technology. So anything about technology and Generation Z that you want to talk about?
Ma'am, good morning. This is Ria Parekh.
Hi,
I think this generation is too much addicted to technology. Like without technology, even an hour is not possible for us.
right. Absolutely. And then, you have so much of information on the internet that you're so less dependent on, books or people actually telling you, or, these kinds of webinars. So what we are going to do is, instead of me telling you about resume writing, GD and interview skills in a way that you can already find on the internet, you can just search and find it. What we will do is we will focus on the things when you see such things or when you get data on the internet about these things. What is it that is right for you? What is it that you should avoid? What is it which you should use? And I be, your own judge of what is right and not right, or what is suitable for you, is what we are going to lead this webinar into. Okay. So instead of just telling you this is the way, this is the format, because you can easily get format of resume on the internet, right? Yeah. So Roshan says our generation don't remember anything. And I'm sorry, but I just lost that chat. Can someone read it for me? Maybe Roshan?
Hello, ma'am. This is Roshan. From my side, due to access of internet, our generation don't have to remember anything. Just we have to just
Right.
Google it.
Right. It's just Google, right? I mean, everything is there. You actually don't need a webinar where someone tells you that this is the way you write your resume. However, there are certain experiences which Google might not have, and what we are going to do over here is we are going to share those experiences, me sharing those with you, and you sharing those with me. So that's the way we will increase our knowledge in terms of what is not already available, and make this webinar more useful in terms of the knowledge sharing that we are looking at. Okay, so I will start with the presentation, and let me know once you see. I am yet to share it, and I'm starting the presentation mode. So right now I am not able to see the chat or the video. So if anything goes wrong with the chat, or if someone has any questions, maybe the coordinators can just pause me and we can take those. I would suggest that we will take questions. We will take 3 to 4 questions after each topic. And at the end of the session, we will take more questions that we have. Okay, sounds good. So whenever I ask a question, you can just unmute yourself and answer or share your views. So I don't really want your communication to be restricted in any way by someone making changing you to a mute status. All right, so resume writing, interview skills, and group discussion. These are the 3 topics we will look at. This is the Delbert office, joke or humor. Let's start with that. You can read it. Okay, so I'm not sure if you're aware of Dilbert, but this was the Generation Y thing. This is called as, it's very popular Dilbert office humor, where this guy on the left is Dilbert. There is this interview candidate, and then the person with like 2 horns.
Excuse me, ma'am. Sorry to interrupt, but we are just looking at the first slide right now.
Are you not able to see Dilbert?
No.
Uh-oh. Okay, let's try it again. I'm sharing again. Are you able to see it now?
Yes, I can see Dilbert now, but it is in the not in the slide sharing mode. Right now, it is in the editing mode, right?
Okay, I think that's okay till the time you see, because let's not waste time more on making it a presentation mode. Maybe it's something with Google Meet, but you can see the slide, right?
Yes, now you can see.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Excuse me, madam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to suggest Sushan, tell the madam to make it as a slideshow, right? So that it is
Okay.
helpful for me.
Let's try that.
Yeah, madam. From current slide. All beginning. That's it.
Is this working now? Can you see
Now
the
you have
screen?
to share it again. Stop sharing and share it again. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, madam.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. Now let me start sharing. Okay, and now I'm doing the slideshow from the beginning. Can you see Dilbert now?
No, ma'am, you have to start the presentation and then share the screen.
Okay, you are not telling me the steps.
Okay, you have to start the presentation. Then you have to select the tab where the presentation is already in the slideshow mode.
Okay. Yes, sir. Okay, I really hope this works now. So this is the first slide, and now I have clicked on the second one. Now can you see Mr. Dilbert?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so we've started with a little humor. Now let's look at what we want to learn today. So resume writing. I'm sure a lot of people have used the word CV instead of resume, or maybe biodata also. And what happens many times is we hear this, which is a resume. Then we also hear this, which is a curriculum vitae or CV. And then at times there are some people who say biodata. Okay, so we will just look at what these really mean, or what is the difference, if there is any difference, and where you should use what. So quick difference is a resume is a French word which actually means summary, and when you're saying summary, it signifies more about all the experience, all the professional knowledge or experience that you have, specific skills that you've gained through your experience is what is shown in a resume. So normally resume would be preferred by people who have experience against freshers. But that doesn't mean that freshers cannot use the word resume or cannot have a resume. Okay, then there is curriculum vitae, which is a CV in short. It's a Latin word which means course of life. And what it normally has is it has all your education qualifications in detail, every skill that you've learned, the jobs, the degrees, any affiliations that you have with other companies or professional organizations. So we have all that in a CV. So for you, when you start your career, a curriculum vitae or a CV will be apt. At the same time, if the company asks you for a resume and they specifically say resume, then when you reply to them, you have to write to them that this is my resume. So normally, whenever the company asks you for a particular thing, respond in that way. So resume and CV can be used interchangeably in India, whether you are an experienced person or you are a fresher. So that really doesn't matter. Why I'm giving you this information is because you have to know what they actually mean and where to use them. Given a choice, you have to choose. And then we have biodata, which is like the name says, it is more of a biographical data, which has height, age, gender, maybe at times religion, caste. It also has your photograph. And these are generally used in when you're opting for a government related job position. So for us, biodata is completely out of question. So we do not use biodata. All right. So then why do I need a resume? Anybody? Yeah, you can just unmute yourself and say, why do you think that, we need a resume? We can just, tell people that we know, or when we have campus recruitments, we can, just write an email to them. So why in particular we have to write a resume or a CV?
It is basically a display of our skills and what we've learned, an organized display, I mean.
Absolutely. And may I know your name?
Ma'am, I'm Prajakta.
Prajakta. That is absolutely correct, Prajakta. So why I need a resume is basically to summarize and effectively promote my qualifications to the hiring company or the university or the professional organization that I'm applying a job for. Because how would they know what I have learned, what is my experience? So an organized way in which I'm giving my data in a summarized format, because I've done a lot of things, right, in my 15 years of school, college, etc. Or even with the as you grow in your career, you will earn a lot of experience, but you cannot just keep on adding number of pages to your resume. So it has to be summarized, and it has to be effective in a way that it will promote what you are known for, what you're good at. At the same time, it should be written in a way that it should actually give what the employer is looking for. And we will talk more about this. So then there are different sections in a resume. What we will look at is what are the sections that are essentials. That is something that you cannot skip, you have to have. Then we will look at some optional sections which may or may not be present in your resume depending on the job you're applying for, and also depending on whether you have those skills or whether it is relevant to you. Okay, so for example, let's start with the essential section first. So the essential sections obviously will have contact information, because then that's how they are going to contact you through email as well as call you for the interview. Your LinkedIn profile will also be a part of it. No Instagram. It will just be your professional, links to portals or social media, which give a professional information about you. And majorly that preferred one is LinkedIn. So your contact information as in your name, your maybe your address, your email address, and then your phone number. And if you have a LinkedIn profile. Then is your education, of course. It has to be latest first. Everything in your CV or your resume will be latest first. So whatever is latest. So 4th year of engineering will be latest. If you've done an internship and you've done and you're currently working with a company, then the current working company will be first and internship will be below that. So whatever is latest comes first. Then key competencies and skills. So for example, you've attended a few soft skills seminars, and then you also have completed some training and assessment, and you have a certificate. That would be something that will not come here. Okay. Key competencies and skills will be basically what you've learned and what you've used in your job. So for example, if I'm a delivery manager, my key competency will be things which are related to delivery of an IT project. Similarly, when you are an engineer, your key competencies in your final year or throughout your engineering career, if you have education, if you have learned different languages, if you've learned React.js, or if you've learned C, C#, that will be your skills and competencies. Now, work experience is something, once it is relevant, you will have again in a chronological order with the latest work experience first and then the previous one. So if I have 18 years of experience where eZest is my current company and Infosys is my previous company, I will have eZest first, then Infosys, and then maybe Persistent that I worked in 2000. All right. Then we have optional sections. Now, optional sections are optional in terms of two things: what you're applying for, whether the employer or the organization is looking for those, then you should have it. But there could be an organization that does not, entertain or is looking for something like that, and hence they become optional. The second one is it is not relevant to you. So, for example, you've not, you've not done any certifications, then that becomes an optional section for you. So objective, as in, you must have seen in a lot of resumes or CVs, the first line says objective, and then there are 1 or 2 lines that says, I want to, and then it says that I want to become a successful engineer, I want to become a successful developer, I want to become a successful manager, and hone my skills, and then do this and do that. Now what happens is, that sounds like a very selfish objective. And if you are a hiring company, just think about it. Why would you hire someone and then pay the person who has a very selfish objective? So what we need to do is the objective should be balanced in such a way that it is a little give and take, where you say that you have certain skills and experience, or if you don't have experience, in that case you have certain knowledge and skills, or you have a temperament, or you have that zest with which you are going to do these things, and those things are going to help or give the organization what it is looking for. So then it becomes a balanced objective where we are saying that, okay, I have this, you have this, or you want this, so let's work together and then build something like this. So our objective should normally be like that, instead of just being on what I want to do or what I want to achieve. Okay. Then you have your academic projects. Again, the latest first. So your first year project will be last if you're going to mention it. Ideally, pick the top 3. It could be across your engineering career, engineering years, or it could be the last 2 semesters. So that is also okay. But they have to be the top 3 best projects. So have those. The way you write. So I will share a few sample resumes later with Sushant, and you can go through it. That is something not really necessary, because if you search on the internet, you will get a lot of sample resumes. What you can look for is sample resumes for engineering fresher students, or for engineering freshers, or fresher engineers, and you will get a lot of them. There are many sites also which have loads of such resumes, like loads. When I'm saying loads, it's like 50 resumes, sample resumes, etc. What you can look at all of those and cross-check against these things that we are talking about. So if you look at a resume which has an objective, it says that, I want to join your organization, or I want to succeed in my career and be at a position where, eventually I don't have to work. So then, you don't want that objective, but maybe that, the pattern or the format in which the resume is written is very nice. So you can go with that. So it's a pick and choose, right? Then you have technical skills or programming skills. That is where you will write your, Java and C++, C#, any tool, Selenium tool that you've used, any test tool that you've used. So all of those will come under this section. Again, this is an optional section. Why? Because once you have experience, when you're writing your work experience, within that work experience of the responsibilities that you write, you mention your technology, and that's all the technical skills, and hence this becomes an optional section. So you don't have to really write this as technical skills and programming skills, then mention in 4 to 5 bullets, and then again repeat it in your project. So as you have more experience, you have more to write about the roles and responsibilities, and hence you would want to avoid this and include it as a one-liner or those specific keywords within the work experience that you have. When you don't have the work experience, then this becomes a relevant or essential section where you mention these things. Then you have your language skills. Now, when I'm saying language skills, if you're applying for a job within India and the company is India-based, is based in India, they don't have anything abroad, it's not an MNC, then writing language skills as I know Hindi, Marathi, English, Gujarati, Tamil, doesn't really make sense. However, this becomes an essential section when you know Japanese and the company's base is Japan, or you're looking or you're applying for a company in Germany and you've done some primary or basic German language certification, and you know German maybe at some level, so beginner's level or intermediate level, then mentioning your language skills becomes essential, becomes relevant rather. Okay. But otherwise, don't have this as language skills and then write Hindi, Marathi, English, Gujarati, and the regional languages that you know. Again, it takes up space in your resume if you're mentioning this and it is not relevant to the company. So if the company is US based or UK based, and English is what they communicate with, then mentioning English language and then Gujarati and Tamil doesn't really make sense. So you can skip it. Okay, any questions so far? Is it too fast?
No, I think it's perfect.
Okay, cool. Then community involvement. Now there are companies who are very heavy and look at CSR, that is corporate social responsibility activities a lot. And for those companies, if you have any community involvement where you are part of some NGO, some help organizations, and you've done substantial work, then mentioning this makes sense. Again, it would be relevant to the companies, relevant in your resume when you're applying for those specific companies. Otherwise, you can skip it. If you don't have any community involvement, just don't put it because you have to. Hence, again, this is an optional section. And then again, professional environment. If you're you're a blogger for a company, if you have written the website content for a company, or if you are conducting some technical sessions for a company during the weekends, so and you're tied up with that company for that, then you can mention those professional involvement. And awards and recognitions, again, if you're applying for eZest or maybe Infosys or Tech Mahindra, and you say that I have been an international state level swimmer, doesn't really add any value, so you might want to skip it. However, if you you have done a certification in Prince2 or PM, yeah, any questions?
No, ma'am. No.
Okay, so if you've done or you worked with a company in a collaborative project, and that project was actually taken up. So for example, Byju's is something which is like really a hot cake right now. And if you worked with Byju's for something and your work has been awarded or recognized, then mentioning here makes sense. Again, it makes sense if the company is into education technology, so as in the ed tech that we say, because then it becomes relevant. So these are all optional things that you will add in your resume if they are applicable for the company you are applying for, at the same time if they are relevant to you and your experience. Then these are the sections that you should not have. Okay, hobbies, I like to cook, swim, garden, don't add it in the resume. References, principal, your favorite teacher from school, your neighbor, your neighbor's dog, don't add it. Personal information goes in the biodata, it doesn't come in CVs and resumes, so you will not add it. So these are the things that now should be avoided. So when you are looking at a sample resume on the internet, and if you come across these things, you know that you want to skip it. But at the same time, that resume might have something which is relevant, which is good, which you like, which is relevant to your skill set and the job you're applying for. Then you might want to adopt that. Okay, so quickly a recap. Essential is contact information, education, key competencies, work experience if you have, otherwise your projects. Optional are your objective. Objective should be balanced, not just selfish. Academic, so I'm using these words because it just helps us to remember things, because there is a little humor or some fun factor attached to it. Your academic projects will not be optional to freshers, so for you it is a must. Technical skills or programming skills, language skills, again only if relevant. Community involvement, professional involvement, and awards and recognition. Okay, so now you know what should go in a resume, as in what sections should be there. Now let's look at, and then these are to be avoided. Now let's look at what a good resume should have. Now, if you consider a book that you want to read, which is like really fat and very big with very small font and bad print, you wouldn't want to read the book. Similar goes with a resume, because there is someone else who's going to read your resume, and that else is actually scanning thousands of resumes at a time, shortlisting them at various levels on different criteria, and then actually reading it. So you don't want that person to be angry when he or she is looking at your resume, and you want to give the person what he or she is looking for. So your resume has to be absolutely clean, and we will talk more about it. Easy to read. Application tracking system or ATS friendly. What is ATS? Anybody knows about it?
These are the resume parsers.
Okay. Anyone else wants to try?
it tracks specific keywords like for the specific job description maybe.
Right, correct. So, ATS is something which is a software which is used by a lot of companies because they get so you must have heard this though, if you're applying for Oracle or so there are a lot of companies, when you actually click on the job description, it takes you to a different site where there are different forms. You have to register, set your login password, and then fill in all the information. Where that site stores your resume, and then when the person from the company wants to look at particular job or a candidate, then he or she will type in the keywords, and then the ATS will fetch those results. So like you rightly said that it is like a parser or a system where it looks for specific keywords and then pops out your resume, and hence you should have all those keywords. So for example, every one of you must be aware of Zomato, right? And Zomato asks you, what do you feel like eating today? And you say pizza. Now when you say pizza, all the all the restaurants which have pizza in their name, like Pizza Hut, would be fetched first. Then all those restaurants which have pizza in their menu repeatedly will be fetched. Now, Smoke and Joe's or Domino's would probably come second against Pizza Hut because Pizza Hut also has pizza in their name. Plus, there would be certain restaurants like some Anand Veg or Rupali, which also serves pizza. It's not in the name, or they are not like pizza joints. However, they have pizza in one of the items in their menu. That will also be fetched. So just think of it, when you're applying for a job where the job description is given, if you have most of the keywords in your resume from that job description, what will happen? Amongst those 1,000 people, you have very high chances that your resume comes out first or in the top list of candidates. Hence, your resume or a good resume should be ATS friendly. We will see how to do that. It has to be error free. I mean, this is like a complete turn off. You cannot have errors, spelling mistakes, bad formatting in your resume. The moment the person looks at the resume, just because it is all over the place with bad formatting or with spelling mistakes, people will stop reading it. So on an average, they say people or a recruiter spends 3 seconds on your resume before they shortlist. So that's how much time you have. That's the attention. So we should probably say that recruiters are even beyond Gen Z, who have very little attention span. Okay, that was a joke. So focused on the job and company being applied for. So it's a fact that whenever you write your resume and when you're applying for 3 different companies, you have to tweak your resume a bit here and there, depending on the company that you're applying for. So you prepare one resume and then just forward it to everybody does not work. Well, it will work, as in the email will go, they will receive the resume, but you might not get a call back because there would be someone else who's actually tweaked the resume with those keywords that were there in the organization's website, what the organization does, and what the job description had called out for. Okay, so if you are using a word, collaborated, or if you're using C# in your resume and the company is looking for basic language, or if the company is looking for communicate together or in collaboration with, and if your resume has those keywords, the chances of your resume being picked will be higher. Okay, so you have to tweak your resume every time you're applying for a different company, and don't just keep one format and send it. Now again, the format might need not be changed, but the keywords here and there have to be changed. So you have to literally have your job description in front of you. Look at those keywords, mark them in the job description, and then look at your resume and try to fit in those keywords. These keywords are normally also called as action verbs. I have identified certain action verbs. I have a list. I will share that also with Sushant. And Sushant, if you can just forward it to everybody. Try to use those action words depending on what is relevant to you. Okay? And what is a bad resume? Now, this is very simple to say. We will talk about it. And whenever you come across such resumes that you're looking at as samples to build your own, make sure you do not include these things in it. So one is disorganized or difficult to read. Like I said, all over the place, unnecessary bold, unnecessary lines, margins, pictures, and I don't know what else. Bad speller, so no spelling mistake. Always have a spell check. If you're using US English, be consistent with it. If you're using UK English, be consistent with it. Now, a very definitive difference between UK and US English is the S's and the Z's. So organized is with S for UK, and for US it will be Z. Similarly, behavior or behavioral, the spelling changes a bit. So make sure you just follow one pattern. Don't mix both. Then mature graphic designers, where people have, I don't know, tiles and so for example, you worked with Pizza Hut. I don't know why I'm talking about pizza so much today. So if I have worked with Pizza Hut on some internship project, and I have taken up 4 responsibilities. Don't have the bullets with the pizza slices on the left. That is bad graphic designing. You don't want distractions or graphic designs in an fresher engineer or experienced engineer's resume. That is a completely different area where graphic designers have a different format in which they do their resumes. For us, it is not applicable. Missing the action verbs, like I said, collaboration, recognized, then so basically anything that describes an action, okay, formalized, analyzed, all of these become action verbs. The font abuser, we will look more on this in the next slide. Information that isn't relevant to the job. Do not add something which is not relevant. Remember those sections that we talked about. Then we have fails to highlight your accomplishments. Like someone said, I think Prajakta said, that it is about, resume is to highlight and promote the accomplishments that we have had. Okay. Unprofessional email address. So I remember once, and I still remember this. So I had this email address on which I received a resume. It said, your lucky charm at yahoo.com. Now let's not have something like this. So try to have an email address. So you can have your personal email addresses. Do not use it for professional use, sending resumes. Have an email address that has your name. Okay. Try to avoid all numbers and short forms and your pet names in it. Keep it simple. Name, surname, name. Is your, however you get it. But then just don't make, so if your name is Samir, don't put it as Sam. Try to have something with Samir or just have an S. Preferred fonts, like you can see on the screen, these are something that doesn't distract you, disturb you while you are reading. At the same time, these are some which are very distracting. No caps lock on, no funny fonts, no slant letters like this one that you have. Just keep it simple. Also, we should use normal standard fonts. Why? Because when you are taking a printout of your resume, the person who at the shop where you are going to take the printout might not have these fancy funny fonts. So these are very standard. They come with all systems, all OSs, and all software. So these you will be printed the way you see your resume. Another important thing is always avoid having tables in your resume, because the moment you go into a table structure, your printing goes for a toss. Okay. Sometimes in the preview also you can see those grid lines, but when you actually print it, the grid lines move, or they are double, or one of the lines move out. If you're going to add or delete something from the table, it again is a very time consuming job. So the best thing is to avoid tables completely. They also take up a lot of space in your resume, and hence you should avoid them. Your resume or CV should never ever go beyond 2 pages. And that's not back and front. These are 2 pages, 1 and 2. Don't print anything on the back side. So 2 pages is maximum. So I have 18 years of experience. My resume is 2 pages. When I was a fresher, I had few projects. My resume was 1.5 or a little less than half. So whether you have experience or you don't have experience, resumes, CVs cannot go beyond 2 pages. Okay, 1 page, perfect. If not 1.5, maximum is 2. Okay, so the do's, now we'll quickly go through this so that we can move to interviews. Do's, make sure your resume is focused, like we said. This is more of a revision of what we said. Evaluate the content for relevance and truthfulness. Do not ever lie on your resume or during your interview. If you get caught, and you do get caught, it is absolutely bad for your career. Okay, so never write anything that you've not done. If you have just done it a little bit, maybe you can mention it, and during your interview, you can elaborate more on it. But don't write something which you've not done or which is not true. Use action verbs and keywords. The list of action verbs you will get from Sushant. Be consistent with the formatting. Make sure your resume is printable. Try to take a print or so before you actually take the final print. The length should be maximum 2 pages, like I said. Give appropriate name to the file. Now, whenever you're sending a CV, write your name. So it will be, say, Reena Atle. If I have experience then and I'm applying for a job of a senior developer or Android developer, then I might say Reena Atle, Android and CV, or Android and maybe I have 3 years of experience. So Android, 3 years experience, CV, something like that. Try to have your file name in such a way that it is not too big, but at the same time, when the person looks at the file name, he or she understands, okay, this is the one that I was looking for. Proofread and run through your resume time and again, because as months go by and you have more experience, you always want to go back and check and edit a few things, add a few things, because you're adding certain things and the limit of your resume should only be 2 pages. You might want to remove something which is no longer relevant. And resume should, so you might be overwhelmed that you want to add everything so that the recruiter knows that you know all of these things. However, you should only focus on the things that the the employer is looking for. And when you are actually in an interview, you can talk more about these things. Okay, so don't think that you are going to lose or the employer would not know certain things that we have not done. Just pick the best ones in terms of what showcases your skills and what the employer is looking for. Don'ts, again, pretty simple. Strange email addresses, a no. Irrelevant personal information. So I had one resume which said, I'm a vegetarian, but I like to eat eggs. Nobody cares about it, to be very frank. Don't have it in the resume. Maybe if you are selected and you go out for a team lunch or something with your manager or that recruiter, then you can specify that you are a veg but you like eggs, but not in your resume. Okay, don't use lengthy sentences. So you want to add a lot of adjectives and a lot of things. So you just put in comma, 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 and then there are like 3 to 4 lines in your resume. Don't do that. It's very irritating. Don't use abbreviations. The rule to use abbreviations is first time when you want to use it, write the complete word or words. Immediately after that, in brackets, you would put in the short form or the abbreviation. And after that, you can use the abbreviation. Do not use multiple fancy and unusual fonts. It has to be one single. So even if it is Arial and Vardhana, choose one. You can't have your objective in Arial and then your experience in Vardhana. If it is Arial, everything Arial. If it is Vardhana, everything Vardhana. Okay? Don't mention false information, like we said. Don't include a declaration. I hereby declare that all the information that I've written in this resume is true. Well, it is expected to be true. So you don't have to declare that, and it doesn't really have any value. That's why it shouldn't be there. Whenever the employer wants such legal, acceptance or declaration, they will give you a separate NDA or other forms which you have to sign formally, which are legal documents. Resume is not the place for declarations and signatures. Okay, any questions?
If anyone have questions, please unmute yourself, or you can type down them in the chat box.
Yeah, so we'll give about 15 seconds or 30 seconds for that, and then we'll move to interview.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. I had a question. Okay, so I wanted to ask what values do the certificates that we do, like course certificates and all? Because the courses are really knowledgeable, but what value do the certificates hold while we write it in a resume?
If you're a fresher, it holds a lot of value because that is something in addition to your educational qualification that you've done. Again, like I said, it will be an optional section. If you have experience and the job that you're applying for, so suppose you have done a certification in AI and the company is into IoT and AI and things like that, then it becomes absolutely essential to put it. However, if you're a finance person and you are working in a bank, and then you're working and you've done a certification in Japanese language, maybe it doesn't make any sense. So certifications at your stage right now, yes, try to put them, and also be ready to talk about them in terms of what additional knowledge you've gained and how you will be able to apply that knowledge in your job during the interview. So put it in your resume.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
I also have a question. How to make an ATS friendly resume?
Sorry, I couldn't catch what you said.
Hello.
Yes.
How
Can
to
you
make an ATS friendly resume?
I'm sorry, Sushant, can you help me with the question? I'm not able to hear her properly.
Yes, Shruti wanted to ask whether how we can make an ATS friendly resume.
ATS friendly. So use the keyword. So whenever you get a job description, it states, we are looking for and the roles and responsibilities, right? And then those are the keywords. So I will, like I said, I will send you the action verbs and you can try to use them. Those are the action verbs normally part of the job descriptions that you have, and accordingly. So what you can do right now is look for opportunities or openings that are there for freshers or up to 2 years of experience in your field, and see what keywords they are using. Those are the keywords that you want to have in your resume, and those are the keywords that will be ATS friendly. Okay.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll take more questions later. Let's move to interview skills because it's almost 12. Yeah, so what does this picture tell you? Anyone? Anyone? Come on. It's kind of a joke, but it's still serious. Nobody?
Yeah, ma'am, maybe it is saying that we have to take control of our interview and we have to own it, and it's our responsibility to make it happen good.
Right, absolutely. May I know your name?
Yeah, this is Shreya Mahajan.
Hi Shreya, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. So it tells you that you have to be in control of the situation. Just expect anything and everything, and hence always be 100% prepared for an interview. When we are saying 100% prepared, what is it that we are looking for is what we will discuss. So a quick question, what is a job interview? Well, it is a process in which a potential employee is evaluated, potential employees you is evaluated by an employer for a prospective employment in the organization. Now, when we are saying this, what we are actually saying is very much between two entities. One is the organization and one is you. And if these two actually fit in, then you crack the interview. We will see how to do that. So any interview has 3 stages: the pre-interview stage, things that you should do before the actual interview starts; interview stage, that is when you are in that interview; and then post-interview stage. Okay, so let's look at what we need to do in the pre-interview stage. First, your resume should be written in a way and sent to the recruiter as per the job description that they have given. Like I said, a little tweak. So you have your resume prepared, but just fill in those particular action verbs that they have used in the job description. Review your skills and experience to match to them. So suppose you've done something in database, and you have also done a bit in front end technology. Now the front end technology you are not very good at, the back end you are very good at. So ideally what you would do is you would showcase what you're good at in a regular resume. But if the company that you're applying for is looking for is has a lot of opportunities in front end, what you can do is you can also mention the front end. If you've done any certifications, you can mention that. Now this makes it aligned with the company's expectation. So you know what you have, you know what the company wants. So it's more of you want to know a person, and what you do is you try to understand what the person is, what the person likes, doesn't like. Then you also check what you like, you don't like, and then try to build a rapport based on what is common, what is similar, right? Because then it hits it off, and then you can progress in that relationship or in that friendship. This is also something like that. Then anticipate the question and prepare answers with relevant examples. We will talk more about this in the kind of questions that could be asked during an interview. Prepare your key selling points, what you are good at. Research the organization, extremely important. You have to go through the website of the organization that you're applying for. Read actually every page of the organization. Read what they do, since how many years they have been established, what are their core competencies, who are their clients, what are the projects or the products that they work into, what is the culture that they have. So all this information is given in the website. You have to thoroughly look at all of these. I will also come back to this point on during the interview or during the question and answer session that you have during interview, how this information can be helpful. Research a job opportunity and possible opportunities in the organization. Now, what happens many times you apply for a job, and during the interview you get a feeling that ये नहीं हो रहा है, मैं fit नहीं हो रही हूँ. Then what happens is you start getting demotivated. But if you research the organization and the job opportunities that they have, maybe during that interview you can sell yourself or sell your experience or skill set for the other job for which they don't have an opening. Now what happens over here is, when that interview is going on and you say that yeah, but I have these skills, I understand maybe this is not relevant for this particular job opportunity, but I also saw that your company does this, and then there are job openings in this area, so I think I can fit there as well. So you're creating more opportunity for yourself. This is how you can utilize the the details or information that is available in the organization's website under the job section. Be updated with the current news. Prepare the list of questions that you will ask. So many times the interviewer asks you at the end of the session, at the end of the interview, that do you have any questions? And there are many people who say, no, I don't have any questions. And that's a complete no. You should never, ever do that. You should at least have 3 questions with you. It could be relevant to your job as well as the job that you're applying or the discussions that you've had. And also in general, in terms of what the company does or the information that you've read about the organization on the website, you can take that up and have a conversation. We will also talk more about that later. Sorry. Bring extra copies of your resume, because some water may spill, you may lose it, it falls down and someone stamps on it. Many things can happen. Tragedies do happen. So always carry extra copies of your resume and any other documents that the interviewer has asked for. Always carry your own pen, and rather extra pen. So there are many people who have their lucky pen or special pens with them, which obviously they don't want to share with someone who, if at all someone asks for. Now, if someone asks for your pen and you have only that one lucky pen, then it will be bad that you can't offer it. So just have extra pens. Confirm date, time, and location well in advance. Another thing over here is there are there is many times it happens that you've not visited this location or you don't know this place well, or during these pandemic times when you are dependent on transport, you don't have your own, and you are probably going to book an Ola or take up an auto or a bus. In that case, you can't really gauge the time that it is going to take, especially when you don't know the place. In this situation, always whenever you're talking to the recruiters, ask for locations, and also say that I'm going to visit this place for the first time, so I will start well in advance. But if I get stuck or if I'm not able to find the place, can I call you on this number? So one is that you're confirming that you don't know the place, so you might be late due to some unavoidable reasons. Plus, you're also making sure that when you are stuck and you don't know where to go after that point, you can call the person and the person is going to be available. So the person also expects that, okay, interview 11 बजे है, पौने 11 बजे मुझे इसका फोन आ सकता है. So this is what you're preparing, because if you have started, even if you have started early, but you get stuck and you can't find the place, you might just get late even though you started well in advance. So this is called as risk management. So you identify the risk and also identify how you will mitigate it. So talking to the person and telling that this is the thing, I will start early. However, if I am not able to find, can I call you on this number? And the person will always say yes, or the person will also give you another number where the person will say, okay, it is a Saturday, so right now I'm calling from my office landline. That might not be available, so I'll give you my mobile number as well, and you can call me on that. So this is how you're mitigating the risk that may occur. Okay, now the actual interview stage. Dress appropriately. When we say appropriately, it doesn't mean uncomfortable. And at the same time, it doesn't mean your weekend or friend casuals. What it means is you have to dress in a way which one you are comfortable, because you're anyways going to be in an uncomfortable situation when you are going to be in your interview. Especially the first 3, 4, 5, 10 interviews are a little uncomfortable, then you get used to it. So dress appropriately in terms of what makes you comfortable. If you are a person who feels very cold, try to wear, for guys, you can wear full sleeves. For girls, again, you can wear full sleeves. It could be Western or it could be Indian traditional. If you feel really very cold, in that case, you can have a professional, formal jacket with you or a stole or something that will help you from not feeling cold. Because during the interview, if you have AC and you're sitting in that room and you are tensed, then you're going to be all sweaty and cold. Similarly, if you are a person who feels very hot, not wear sleeveless, but then wear something which is like a breather, and where you will feel comfortable, you are not sweating too much. In order to avoid the sweatiness, the dampness, and obviously the odor, you will use a perfume or a deodorant. But make sure you are not there to market that deodorant. So just use that will be pleasant, decent, because there are a lot of people who will have allergies due to these smells, these odors. At the same time, you don't want to have focus of that person on how you smell, rather than it should be on what you are talking and how relevant your education and your skills are for the job. So don't overpower it, but use it in a decent manner and in a decent volume. Be enthusiastic. Even if you are tensed, the best thing to do is to breathe and speak slowly. Appear confident. Many times it happens that initially we are not confident, so the best way is to just appear confident. And then once you start talking and things start moving smoothly, then you anyways become confident. Be yourself. Don't unnecessarily pose something that you are not, because it is very difficult to carry it for an interview when you get into situations where you have to really think, and then they will find the recruiter or the interviewer will find that you were faking something and now this is the actual you. So don't do that. Be yourself. Every individual is different, and that uniqueness is actually what is required in an organization as a team to work together. Because if everybody is same, we will have the same problems. So we want to have different problems, and then we have to have different solutions to the problems, and hence be yourself. Be aware of your non-verbal cues and understand your interviewers as well. Now, what does this actually say is it's not only the non-verbal but also the verbal. So for example, you might start with an interview where the person say, I'm the interviewer and you are the interviewee, and I say, oh, hi Prajakta, how are you? And Prajakta says, yeah, thank you ma'am, I'm good. And then I say, was it easy to find this place? And Prajakta says, yeah, I had never visited, but yeah, I could find it, thank you. And then I talk more about, yeah, it's very hot. Are you feeling hot? Should I, decrease the temperature of the AC? And I, just chit chat a little here and there. So this is a person who wants to make you comfortable and is more of a people person. Over here, if you just cut short the person into just focused answers, might offend a person a bit, thinking that इसको बस interview देने और जाना है. So try to understand how the person is, what the person is saying. At the same time, if the person is saying that, okay, hi Prajakta, please come in. Are you comfortable? Prajakta says, yes. May I have some water? So then I get water for you, and Prajakta drinks water. And then the interviewer says, okay, now can we start? So this person could be a person who has less time right now. Many other things that you can understand once the conversation starts. So if I'm asking a question and I'm saying, no, you are giving me unnecessary details. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking for this. This is a person who is looking for precise, fact-oriented, straightforward answers instead of taking the person round and round. So in this case, if you come across this kind of a person and if you don't know an answer, do not take the person for a ride. That's only going to irritate and frustrate the person. Okay. So in this case, if you don't know the answer, you can say that, this is what I know about it. I don't know details further to this. Just don't, just because you have to answer the question, don't take the person for the ride. He or she will understand and get irritated. Listen carefully, because asking, so if it's going to be a panel of interviewers, then you have to switch your attention. At the same time, if it is just one person, then it is a one-on-one conversation, and in that, if you're going to ask the person again and again, can you please repeat the question, it just shows that you are inattentive. So listen very carefully. There are chances that the question is asked to you and you have not understood it. So the best way to ask the question again is not saying that, can you please repeat the question? The best way is that paraphrase it. So say whatever you've understood and then say, is this what you're looking at? Or you can say, this is what you are saying. Is this all that you want to ask? Or, you can start answering and then say, this is what I have understood from your question. Was there more that you asked, and can I give more details? So instead of just bluntly putting it on the other person, okay, I didn't understand the question, please repeat it. That's not taking efforts on your side. So listen carefully, paraphrase when you're not sure. Maintain eye contact with the interviewer. Do not stare at the interviewer. It is very scary. At the same time, don't look here and there while you're answering, playing with your earrings, playing with your rings, playing with your hair. So there are many people who do this while they are answering questions, or there are people who actually do this also. So please don't do any of these things. At the same time, you don't have to really sit like this, ekdam kadak. You have to just be yourself normal. Don't sit as if you're sitting in a restaurant. Sit as if you're sitting in an office, which you are, and in a way that makes you comfortable to answer, to use your hands to a little bit, to some extent, to move your head. Even when you're sitting, it shouldn't be uncomfortable where you're slipping or where you have to sit like this. So I hope my camera is on, right, Sushant?
Yes,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
camera is
okay.
on.
So you can see all the funny things that I'm doing. Okay, so try not to do that, and always maintain eye contact while you're talking to the person. No matter how scary the person is, you still have to do that. Okay, interview stage 2. Switch off your mobile. That's not something that I really wanted to put in, but it's so obvious, right? And when I'm saying switch off your mobile, it also means that keep the mobile out of your sight, mind, pockets, hands, tables, everywhere. So it is as if you don't have the mobile. It should be in your bag and your bag should be away. Because if you put it in your pocket or if you put it on the table, even if you put it the other way around where you can't see the screen, what happens is it buzzes. And even if it doesn't buzz, you still feel that it is buzzing. So just put it away. Like someone said when we started, that it is something that mobile is something that we just mobile or internet is something that we just, the generation Z just can't live without. For that 1 hour of interview, just live without it. Okay. It probably will, it's an incentive where you can probably buy even a better mobile after you get the job. Okay, so ask questions when in doubt. Again, the way you ask questions is not a straightforward, no, I did not get this. Can you please repeat? You can say, this is what I understood. Is this what you are saying? Or, I'm sorry, I didn't quite get the question. I understood this part of it, but I'm not sure I got this part of it. Okay, which says that you at least listened and made an attempt. Thank whenever necessary. Like I said, if the interviewer says, how was your day? Or, how did you reach here? And did you find it very difficult? Do you want some water? Or this is, oh, you've done this certification. That's excellent. That's very nice. Thank. Apologize when you commit a mistake. Now, apology has to be only once. Don't repeat it, where it shows that you are not in control of yourself and the situation. Okay, now let's do a quick, I'm going to switch back to my, 1 second. Okay, I'm going to switch back to my camera, and if I can have one volunteer who will, just be my interviewee, just a quick one.
Ma'am, I can do it.
Okay, perfect. Can you switch on your camera?
Yes, ma'am, just a moment.
Okay, sure. So this is something you will not get on the internet, okay? And that's why we want to spend time on this.
Ma'am, am I visible?
Yes, Prajakta, you are very much visible. Okay, so I am the interviewer and Prajakta is the candidate, and Prajakta and I, we are sitting in an interview, and it's just like a 3-minute thing, okay? So hi Prajakta, good morning. Please come in.
Good morning, ma'am. Should I come in?
Yes, please come in. I said come in. Yeah, please have a seat.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, Prajakta, would you like to have, and please don't call me ma'am, just call me Reena.
Okay, sure, Reena. It's a
Okay,
bit awkward, but okay.
That's okay. So, everybody calls me Reena over here. So, that
Sure.
should be. So, Prajakta, would you like to have some coffee?
No, thanks, ma'am. I've just had some a few minutes back.
Come on, have 1 cup with me.
Okay, if you insist, sure.
Okay. So now we get the coffee, okay? Now there are 2 situations that can happen over here. Now I have already told Prajakta to say just Reena and not ma'am, but many times we are very uncomfortable and we keep on repeating ma'am. And then there is a possibility that the interviewer is like, I told you, right? Don't say ma'am, just call me by my name. And then it, takes you a little back. Oh, I have to remember and, call her by her name and not ma'am. So that adds a little pressure. Now, get used to such things. Always start with ma'am or sir. And if the person says, then quickly switch back. It is absolutely okay. Always, the bottom line is just by saying ma'am, sir, doesn't add respect. The way you behave is actually adds respect. So if you keep that clear in your mind, it will be easy for you to shift. Okay. Now, another situation is where I asked Prajakta for coffee. She said no. That was perfect. Always deny. Water is okay because you will need while you're speaking. But coffee, tea, always avoid such things. Eating, anything, just avoid, because there could be other problems which we will look at. So Prajakta said yes the second time, which was perfect. But if she could even, just take one more chance and then say that, no, ma'am, I'm really comfortable. If you want to have, please go ahead. I should, I'm fine with that. So then I say that, no, I was going to have coffee. Now, since you are here, I want you to have coffee. Now I'm insisting and being persistent. Over here, you should say yes. Okay. So like the second time I said, Prajakta said yes, that was correct. Now we get the coffee. Okay. So this is the coffee mug. Prajakta, please hold yours. Yeah. So this is the coffee mug. And then we are talking. Okay. Just put it a little high on your camera so that people can see. Now we are talking, and then what happens suddenly is, this is my mug, okay? Now Prajakta's hand hits the mug and the coffee spills on me. This can happen. This is not given on the internet. This is something you have to prepare for. So what happens now is, now, Prajakta, you have to react. Now you've just spilled coffee, my coffee on me where I wanted to have the coffee. I am the interviewer. Yeah, what will you do?
I'm so sorry, ma'am. I think it was a mistake on my side. Should I help you in some way? Should I give you a tissue?
Absolutely good. So this is exactly what you should do. Apologize. So first of all, if you're sitting, then you have to stand, because obviously if there's coffee on my shirt, I'm going to stand. I'm not going to sit. So if I'm standing, Prajakta also has to stand. Then the first thing that she did was apologize, which was perfect. Second, she asked for a tissue, because right now the problem is there's coffee on my shirt and it is going to leave a stain. So she's offered me tissue or something that will help me remove the stain or remove the coffee. What will you do after that?
Maybe offer some help or some time, maybe.
Right. So let's get into the situation. Now you know how it is, right? So this is the coffee. Let's hold the coffee again.
Yeah.
Okay. So you just spilled it. It is on me. Oh my God. Yeah, Prajakta, go ahead.
Oh,
The coffee is on me, Prajakta. So we are doing an actual interview. Okay. Now you know the situation. Now
Yeah.
you will. Yeah. Now the moment I say the coffee is spilled, the interview starts. Okay. The coffee, it's spilled. Oh my God, there is coffee on my shirt now.
I'm so sorry. It's a mistake on my side.
Oh, that's okay, Prajakta. That's okay. I know you didn't do
Should I offer you a tissue?
Yes, please. There's tissue over there. Can you please pass that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sure.
Yes, you have the tissue, and then I'm wiping it. Oh my God, it's such a mess. Okay.
I'm extremely sorry.
That's okay. You know what? Let me just use the washroom and come back. So I go, I come back. Yeah, continue.
Ma'am, is everything okay or?
Yeah, it's okay. Fortunately, it didn't burn much.
Oh, thank God. Thank God.
Okay, so what she's doing over here is she's trying to be empathetic. That is important. She's not going on apologizing. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And then, not being in control of the situation. She apologized once when it happened. And then, it showed that I was not really happy with what happened. And I was pretty upset. So she empathized. And then she also apologized once again. And that's it. Okay, you do not have to keep on apologizing, saying, oh, I'm really sorry, very sorry. Now, what is done is done. What had to be done was offer help so that whatever happened can be minimized. So, perfect, Prajakta. So, Sushan, can you please arrange a chocolate for Prajakta for this one?
Yes,
Thank
definitely.
you. Thank you.
Okay, let me switch back to the presentation.
Ma'am, should I switch off my camera and be on mute?
Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a wonderful opportunity.
So we can actually have more of these when we, if at all we can have another round, because this actually helps us to get into these situations and, tell us how we should actually manage such things. So is my screen visible or no?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I think I'll stop sharing. I have my presentation mode on, and then I am going to share the screen. Okay, is it visible now?
No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay,
Now.
good. So apologize if you commit a mistake. Now this was like an extreme case, but it does happen, okay? Things like this do happen. Like this was a coffee thing. I wanted to cover both things where you have to deny when you offered something. But if there is persistence, then you have to accept it. And if an accident like this happens, how to manage the situation. Make a firm handshake if it is offered. Now in COVID times, it is very unlikely that it will happen. Post-interview stage, thank the interviewer after the interview is done. Reinstate your interest in the job. That is like, making a last solid impression. Be confident, show that you believe that it is a beginning. So instead of saying, yeah, ma'am, thank you, or, thanks, Reena, for your time, etc., the formal way that we do, also say that, I really look forward to meeting you. Or if you've discussed something about, during the interview where the interviewer is a person who does something specific in the organization and it is of your interest. So you can probably say that it was great talking to you, especially on that part. And if we get a chance to meet again, or if I get a chance to work with this organization and with you, maybe we can connect and discuss more on this. This is like you're showing it is a beginning and not the end. These are very small things that differentiate you with the rest of the candidate, and that's why they become very important. This is how the interviewer will remember you as in a candidate than the rest 1,000 candidates that the interviewer has interviewed or looked at the resumes. Get confirm the contact information of the interviewer and the HR person, and also ask for the next steps of the interview. As in, you can say that, okay, so after the interview is over, you can talk to the person and say, okay, so will Prajakta, who's the HR, will Prajakta contact me this week or next week about how this has gone and if you want to move further? Could be a question that you can ask about the next steps. Or you can also say that, so after this, so after I leave the room, should I go and talk to Prajakta? Will she be available? So that I can check with her on the next steps. This also gives the fourth point where you're showing that it is still a beginning. Send a thank you email. It is very important because many times all these managers or the senior people who interview us, they actually have to work extra, maybe on weekends, to conduct these interviews. There is a lot of preparation that goes for an interviewer as well to conduct an interview. And at the same time, many times it happens if it is during the weekday or these campus interviews that they actually have their work in their hand, on their plate. They have to do this as an extra thing, as a part of their job, which is not officially like their job, but then because they are senior, they are asked to conduct interviews. So send a thank you mail. It is a good gesture. Not everybody does it. Again, it makes you stand out against the rest of the candidates. Now we'll quickly look at the probable questions. I think we're short of time. Sushant, how do we do with the GD? We'll complete an interview for sure.
Yes. I think we should complete the interview first. Then.
Yeah, okay, and then let's look at a time check. Okay, so probable questions is about you, questions like that. Very typical, tell me about yourself, bring me up to date with your resume. Now over here, don't blabber about, how good you are. What you have to say is the skills that you have or the things that you do, how are they matching the job interview is what you need to look at, and that is what the interviewer expects you to tell. Why did you choose this particular degree program? Now, don't say that, my parents forced me, I didn't have anything. These are the marks I got. So this is, obviously you won't say that, but at the same time, don't go on an extreme that this was like my dream, branch and my dream education. And then that's why I'm here. Be reasonable. Pick up the things that, so if you are from, the IT branch, you can say that, it's always amazing when I use my mobile and then, wonder how these apps are done and they make everybody's life so simple. That is what encouraged me to get into IT and actually understand the brains and the logic on how to make the life of others simple by doing such simple things. Could be an answer. What experience have you had that is relevant to this job opportunity? What would you consider your major achievements to date? Be ready with these questions. Rather the answers, and about the job. So what interests you about this job? Then what do you know about this organization? That's where your website search and reading will help you. Any other options that you're considering? So sometimes people do want to know if your commitment towards the company is just going to be for a couple of years, then you're going to go for a GRE or a GMAT and then leave them. So for freshers, try to not speak about it during an interview because they might reduce the chances of you being selected. At the same time, if the company is into research or things which are relevant to what you plan to do in terms of education, and they also have an office in the country that you want to pursue your studies, which could be part-time or something like that, then saying this makes sense. How do you see your career developing after 5 years? If you are the head of the department, what would be your priorities? So these are probable questions that you need to prepare for. Now, we would actually do much more over here as in how to answer those, but we are short of time. So I will just list down the questions so that you can go back and think about it. General knowledge, what do you think of inflation? How do you think the world can reduce carbon footprint? What do you think are the top challenges for Generation Z? Now, over here, it can be a catch where they want to understand how do you deal with those challenges, or how do you see yourself against these challenges. So when you're talking about this, have your next two answers prepared, where if you are stating the challenge, it will be applicable to you. Then how do you deal with it? If there are any problems that are created because of it, and things like that. So there could be a chain of questions. What is the next big thing in technology? The what if questions. How are you likely to respond to a situation? So they will give you a scenario and then say, now you are in this situation, what would you do? Probing ones on how exactly did you deal with the situation? So many times it also happens. So how did it work for you? Or how do you know that it worked? How do you think about the outcome? Now, many times it happens that you come under a situation and the situation was not in your favor. Those are also the genuine ones which you should share, because the next questions related to those are the ones where they say that, okay, so it was a failure, fine, because failure is a fact, right? Everybody goes through it. So not that everybody is always successful. So if that was a failure, what they want to understand is that how did you deal with it? Because when you start working with the organization, there would be failures, and they want to understand if you can cope up with that. This is the soft skills part. So one is the technical part. The other is the soft skills part, which is also checked or scrutinized during an interview. They will also ask you that, you say that it has been successful, but how do you know it has been successful? So what were the tangible things that you say that it was successful? When it was a failure, or even if it was successful, they can ask you, what would you have done differently to avoid this failure? Or what would you have done differently so that you had success earlier? So things like that can also come up. So your answers, whenever you're thinking about answers for these questions, think of 3 more further questions to those. Keys to successful interview: show enthusiasm, be energetic, be aware of non-verbal communication, yours and the interviewers. Keep eye contact, do not stare. Pay attention to your physical appearance. Doesn't mean whether you're fat, thin, fair, dark. It is about the dress or the attire that you hold, the shoes that you're wearing, whether they are comfortable. If you are a person who sweats a lot, then have breathing clothes. The kind of perfume that you use, the amount of perfume you use. Be knowledgeable about the organization, extremely important. Know your resume. Even if you've got that resume written by someone else, your friend or someone, make sure you know it, know what is written in it. Arrive at least 15 minutes early, and this is at least, okay? There is no way that you can be at an interview place beyond this. It has to be at least 15 minutes. It's okay to wait for half an hour, but you cannot be late. Why? Because if you are late, or if you're just on time, you might want to use the washroom to clean up maybe, or because it was very far away and you actually need to use the washroom, you wouldn't have that time. There is a possibility that if you travel to public transport, you probably want to wash up a bit. You want to breathe, you want to settle down. You've probably come from a very hot place and now you are in an AC, or the other way around. So for you, then you have a lot of stuff with you, bags and papers and things that you have to hand over. There are many times at the reception or before the actual interview. So your interview is 11. Before the actual interview, there are many times that there are some formalities that have to be completed. So 15 minutes is something that you have to have extra prior to the actual interview. Listen very attentively, show confidence, and do not panic in crisis like just Prajakta did. She did not panic. Master key to successful interview is prepare and practice. So unfortunately, we can't do that, but I would love to have some mock interviews with all of you so that we are actually prepared for situations like that. So a quick time check, Sushant. We are past 12:30. Do we have time for GD or should we stop here?
I think we should take the Q&A session directly. instead of taking the group
Okay,
discussion.
sure. So I will stop my presentation and come back to the screen. Yeah. So let's take questions.
Anyone, please?
I don't know. Are people sleeping, aware, awake? It's a Saturday. That's actually a torture, right? Getting up early and then attending an 11 o'clock webinar.
Hello, ma'am. Hi,
Hey, hi,
I'm
Gaurav.
Gaurav. I'm in third year, so I wanted to ask, like, how to be less anxious during the interview. Like,
Okay, so less anxious before the interview. So Gaurav, what
during the
is it?
interview, before and during the interview.
Okay, so Gaurav, tell me what makes you anxious during or before the
Uh,
interview?
like speaking to a new person, like a totally new person, and he's like more senior to us,
Okay,
right? So that maybe m- may make me anxious a little bit. So how
okay.
to tackle that?
Okay, so first of all, to answer your question, and this might not be applicable to everyone. So first of all, you have to identify what makes you anxious. Okay, so like you said, Gaurav, that meeting, talking to a new person for the first time makes you anxious. Now, talking to a senior person makes you anxious. For someone, it could be talking to someone in one closed room can make the person anxious. So the best thing is that do it outside the interview. So talk to people around you. There are so many people around you, right? So now with the pandemic situation, it's a little difficult to be one on one with such people. But otherwise, also in your social life, in your personal life, try and speak with people you don't know. That is how you will get over your anxiousness. Also identifying the reason of what makes you anxious, and then finding a way out for yourself. So for example, when you're practicing for your interview, keep a pillow or something in a chair and try to practice in front of the mirror. So the mirror should be in front of you like this, and then the pillow in a chair, and then you are sitting like this, and then talk to the person like you're talking in an interview. So this person, this pillow is going to be an unknown person. Think that that person, that pillow has good experience, and try to practice.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
we have a question in the chat box from Jayesh Mishra. How to deal with the questions which we do not have an answer? Hello? Am I audible?
I think ma'am is having some connectivity issues.
Hello?
Mohammed, you're audible. I think Rina ma'am is having some network issues.
Okay. It may take some time, I believe. Till then, any other person can even write their questions in the chat box.
Hello. Hey, I'm sorry, I lost my internet connection. Now I'm back.
Ma'am, did you hear the question?
Yeah, I heard the question. Yeah. So, like I said, now there is a possibility that it's a complete bounce of you absolutely have no idea, and then there's a possibility that you know a little bit. Maybe you're not confident. So we look at the first one. So something that you absolutely don't know, say that you don't know. It's okay. because what happens is if you just try to just speak up things which are not relevant, which you don't know, it is only going to annoy the interviewer, as at the same time the interviewer know that you don't know the answer. So if they ask you, okay, what do you know about AI? Now again, these questions where you don't have an answer should be ideally the ones which are not directly related to the projects or the experience that you've shown on the resume. So you have to be really prepared with the resume or the experience that you're showing. So there, not knowing the answer obviously reduces your chance of getting selected. Now, if there is a question which is like out of syllabus kinds, where you don't know. So if someone asks you, okay, what do you know about AI? Or, we use this ATS system that you have, you must have heard. So you can say that, I'm not sure, can you help me with the full form? You can ask more questions instead of directly saying, no, I don't know. Because many times there are certain keywords or terminology that we are not aware of, but we know. So for example, people would know Generation Z, but they wouldn't know which year they belong to. So if someone asks you, okay, are you a Generation Z person? You might not be able to answer, do you understand Generation Z? So a further question to it could be, so is that between the year 97 to 2007? You can ask another question, which is a follow-up question, to show that you're not completely not denying it or you're taking a back foot. Now, for the questions where you are not sure, but you know a little bit, you can share what you know, and then you can say that, this is what I know about it. If you ask me some more specific questions, maybe I can try and answer. So don't show a complete close or a no where, you're taking a back foot and saying that you're being defensive, or you're saying that, no, I don't know. So don't do that. But for genuine questions where you don't know, so for example, if it is about current affairs and you have absolutely no idea about it, so you can say, no, I'm sorry, this is not, I don't know the answer to this question because this is not a topic or area of my interest. I'm more interested in sports. So if, you say that I like sports and a question comes to you, okay, so what do you think about, the latest badminton tournament that happened? Now you are a sports person, but you're more interested in cricket. You don't follow badminton. Then you can answer that, I'm sorry, I am interested in sports, but I should have mentioned it was cricket. Badminton is not that I follow much. I do enjoy playing it at times, just as fitness thing, but I prefer cricket more, is how you can answer it. Yes, anything else?
Ma'am, I have a question. It is generally seen that means in popular trends that sometimes the interviewer asks how much salary would you take. So do they truly ask such questions? And if they ask, how to deal with that?
Okay, so the research on the organization is what helps you answer this question. Again, when you all would be at the same time appearing for interviews, and specifically with similar kind of companies, so you already know the salary range. Okay, now there are two things to this. One, it could be a genuine thing where you are not really interested much in the salary, but you are interested in the company. There could be a possibility that you're not interested in the salary, but this particular job that they are offering, the skill sets that you will develop with it, is something that you actually are interested in. Then you can say that, I understand the salary range that is being offered for this position is between this and this, and I'm comfortable with it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, ma'am.
Do you have further questions to that?
No, ma'am. Any other person?
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Siddhant, right? Yeah.
Yeah, hello. So when you were explaining about the resume writing, you just said that the resume length should be maximum 2 pages, right? So, could you comment about the hyperlinked PDF resumes? Whereby there is a single main page with internal links that open up a greater level of detail for a given skill or work experience.
Yeah, that is okay. That should be okay. But if you're going to have a printed resume which you're going to carry for an interview, then those hyperlinks and details would be completely missed. So your main page should have all the details, the specifications that a resume is required. So that even if the person doesn't look at those hyperlinked details, that should still give the correct picture.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, but actually, we can't really explain about the projects we've done in detail, right, in 2 pages. So how to, or should we explain it at the time of the interview about those projects?
That's right.
That would be
So
better, right?
absolutely. So Siddhant, what happens is, now if you are the recruiter, you will not actually spend time reading all the details. Now for Siddhant, it is very close to his heart, because he spent all that time and energy in developing that project. So he wants to give all the information. But a recruiter just wants to understand how many people were there in the project, what was your role, what did you do as in Siddhant in that project. If it is a technology and IT project, what was the technology stack that you used. So it tells the recruiter that, okay, you know React and you know Node.js, but you don't know C#, you don't know Java, you don't know anything about MongoDB. So you just put in those keywords which will be seen by the recruiter, and then the recruiter will say, okay, this sounds matching to what we are looking at. Let's call this person for the interview. Then during the interview, they will ask you, okay, explain about this project that you've talked about where you've used Node.js and you've said that you were the backend developer. Then that's your chance to explain things.
Okay, okay, right. So I think just the GitHub link would be fine, whereby you'll have all the project details, right? Like at the last of the resume.
Yeah, to be very frank, if I'm the recruiter or even the interviewer, I will never look at it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, because just imagine, like, I'm doing campus, and or even if I'm so there are 10 open positions, and for 10 open positions, say I'm looking at 100 resumes and I'm interviewing 50 people. Do you really think I'm going to go to GitLab and look at it? So currently I'm having 4 projects in the account that I manage in my company. I have not looked at anybody's code until I have, the defect density shows high for a particular person. Only then I would go back and check GitLab for the quality of code. Otherwise, I will not look at it. So that is a part of my job. Okay, even I would do, because it's not possible to do.
Yeah, right.
Ma'am, we have a question.
So, yeah, just one second. So the key to writing a good resume is understand the perspective of the person who's going to read the resume instead of what you want to say. Now, what you want to say should be highlighted, but you have to always understand the other person's perspective. It is the same like, your parents telling you to do certain things, but you will ignore because they're talking a lot of things which don't connect to you. And that's why many times, you have conflicts, or you don't do those things, or you're not ready to listen. But at the same time, if your friend or your uncle or your aunt talks to you on those same things, you connect is because they are talking in the language and the way that you like to hear. So your recruiter is like that. Understand what the recruiter is looking for and give that to him or her. So then you can be called for the interview. And during the interview, then you have more time to discuss and give the details. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Ma'am, we have a question in the chat box. Can we negotiate the salary? If yes, then what is the process for the same?
Okay, so negotiating family requires a lot of facts. One is why they should pay you that X amount. So you have to actually tell, what is it that you bring in, and that is why they should increase your salary. Second is you have to also compare the salary with the rest of the people. So a company has a salary structure. Okay, so for 12 years experience, this is the slot. For 14 years, this is the slot, and so on. For freshers, this is the slot. They would normally not go beyond a particular salary range for a fresher, the range that that company has defined. Now, this range could differ a little bit here and there for across the companies. But when you're negotiating the salary, you have to tell why they should give you that. Okay, so that is where the promotion, or you should be able to sell the skills that you have. It is just like you want to sell something to or you want to buy something from a shopkeeper. When will he negotiate? When there is something in it for him or her. So just because you are asking for an additional or additional rupees or lakhs, they will not give it to you just because you're asking. You have to explain why you want it and explain how it will benefit them.
Hello, ma'am.
Right.
So I also have a question on appearance of our resume. So if the resume is kind of like in a linear fashion, so or it is in the columns. So there are particular columns or blocks for particular sections, like skills, technical skills, and all. So which one should we prefer, or which one would be preferred by the recruiter or interviewer who is going through our resumes?
Okay, so what is your call on this? How do you pronounce your name? Itza, is it? No, it's your. I think it's your ID. What's your name?
My name is Shreya.
Yeah, Shreya. So, what do you think should be like? We covered a little bit of it in the presentation.
Yeah, so personally, my resume is like column based. So I have 2 columns so that I can have more information of my skills rather than the linear resume.
Sure. And why would you prefer columns? So, one is that you can accommodate more things because you can have something over here and something over here. So, what else makes you go with that format?
Also to grab attention to particular sections, like if I put my education where I have good grades in, so if I put that in let's say top left corner, so the attention would be grabbed to that rather than something else. Yeah, something else.
Right. So there is no particular format, and that's why I am not sharing the format with you, because that, like I said, you can get a lot of formats on the internet. So right now, how I visualize your resume format, Shreya, it sounds good. Where I'm saying that it's probably like this: something over here, something on the left, and then details over here. So that sounds good till the time whenever you're printing it, that indentation and everything is maintained, and it doesn't look like it is floating. So like you said, it highlights certain things, and that's why you've separated it. So when you print it, it should still follow the same format and the visual. It is okay to have that format. It is okay to have it linear as well. If you want to make something bold or bring to attention, you can put it at, so if this is your page, so let's do it like this way. If this is your page, your maximum attention goes here and here. So all important things should be in this part. This is something which could be highlights, bullets, where I don't have to read because my patience ends by the time I reach here. So over here, whatever I have, if it is just something like certifications or achievements, which I can just read the word or something and understand, then it should be fine. But if it is something that is important, have it in this section.
Okay. All right, ma'am.
Okay. And your details, as in your name and contact details over here, because when I'm having a bunch of resumes and I have to just scan and contact one person, I would first look here, or some corner, wouldn't look here for the details as phone number and email.
Right. Got it. Thank you.
Ma'am, I had a question.
Yes.
How much do grades matter on a resume, or should we emphasize more on the skills that we've inculcated throughout our education?
Sorry, Prajakta, I didn't get the first part before the skills.
How much do grades matter on a resume?
Grades. Okay. So grades matter on your resume. To be very frank, not much, because they will ask you for your resume at the stage that you are, like you are doing your campus hires or campus recruitment. So you qualify for a particular interview or sending the resume if you fit into that grade. So grades matter right now a little bit. Eventually, when you have like 3 years and above experience, they do not matter at all. Till the time you have the certificate that you've done your bachelor's or master's, having the certificate and the university, that should be enough. Grades, after 3 years of experience, you can avoid or skip grades completely. Right now, it will make a difference because you will have more competition, right? Because if you have 1,000 students across multiple colleges that a company is looking at for campus recruitment or for fresher recruitment, In that case, there would be 1,000 people, so they might want to categorize into, when they're shortlisting, that these are, 80 above, and these are 70 above, and this is below 50. So there, if you have good grades, you might want to mention. If you don't have that grades, avoid mentioning it, because then it gives a negative to, okay, this person has 70%, this has 80, let's not, if I have to make a choice, let's take only the 81.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, any more questions?
Any more doubts?
So it's almost 1. Maybe we want to stop. I'm sorry if we couldn't complete the GD. I already rushed pretty fast with resume and interview. I didn't want to rush further. But maybe if you have time later after your exams, or if this is helpful and you want to follow up, or you want to do the GD as well, maybe you can talk with your coordinators, and then we can figure out if that can happen.
Yes, ma'am, for sure. Okay. So.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah.
So anyone left? So, ma'am, I think there are no doubts. So, hoping that all the participants have cleared their doubts, let's move on. And also, I believe that all have gained a good wisdom on soft skill. So now I request staff coordinator S.A. Deshpande ma'am to please give the words of thanks.
Okay, good afternoon to all. And here I'm just delivering the vote of thanks for today's session. So first of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Reena ma'am for giving an excellent coverage to resume building and interviewing skills, because soft skills are the most important for tuning the students' attitudes, values, beliefs, motivation, then maybe desires, feelings, and eagerness to learn. And also, the students have to make themselves absorbed in the job market. That is very, very important and the current requirement. So, really, ma'am, you guided them very nicely, and you you had given them all the queries solved. Also, I then next thing I wanted to tell over here, I also conducted the soft skills for so many semesters. But I think so, even though I was having some doubts, so those doubts are also cleared today, some of the doubts. So thank you for that also.
My pleasure, ma'am.
Yeah. So very wonderful session you handled today. Then I would like to express my thanks to our respected HOD, because he has given the permission and for from the lectures, means he has given the permission for postponing the lectures today. So I am thankful for him also, and all the staff members also who are really coordinating in such kind of webinars or such kind of events which we are conducting for our college, for our department. Then finally, the wonderful students of our association, because they are really competent and are doing very, very good job. So I'm thankful to them also, and especially to Atharva Joglekar, who actually had given us your reference, and really we are very much thankful to Atharva also. So once again, I'll thank to everyone for cordial cooperation. Thank you so much. And we'll definitely will contact you, madam, in future for such kind of sessions.
Thank you, ma'am. It was my pleasure. And you have wonderful students.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request all the participants to turn on their camera. We are going to take a snapshot. So. I request all the participants to turn on their camera.
Okay, and one more thing here, I wanted to note that all the wonderful students who have turned up for such in a great numbers now from our department. So I'm very much thank you for that also, for your cooperation. Thank you so much.
Please turn on the camera.
And then you have to say smile also, right?
Yeah.
Are we done?
A smile. Remaining students can still turn on. Just a minute, huh? Please give a broad smile again. Yeah. I think we have done with the capturing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being such a lovely audience. And I hope I meet you all in some company very shortly.
Thank you, ma'am.
So all the best for your exams and also for your future career, and do well in your interviews. And even if you've not covered GDs, still I'm sure you will do well in your GDs as well. So Mohammed and Sushant, so if there are any specific questions that we wanted to address but we couldn't, you can send those to me if possible. I will answer them. And there are two things that I will share. One is a couple of sample formats, which I really don't feel necessary because I don't want people to have a typical mindset on how it should be, on how it shouldn't be. We already discussed that. So resume samples I might not share, but if you have any and you want to check with me, you can do that and I can answer. And what I will share with you are the action verbs that you want to use in your resumes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. If there are any
Okay,
questions, we'll collect them and send you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, bye everybody.
Thank you, ma'am.
Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.
And
Participants.
can you please share the recording with me as well, if that is possible?
Yes, ma'am. We'll share the recording link.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, participants can leave. Thank you.